look at multiplying decimals today. To multiply decimals, we've got a couple steps that we want to follow. And these steps will help make sure that each time we solve a multiplying decimals problem, we're getting the correct answer. So the first step is to stack your numbers. And you want the most digits on top. So if you are multiplying 2 and 7/10 times 4 and 3/10, those both have 2 digits, so you can just stack them right on top of each other. Okay, our next step when multiplying decimals is to count the number of digits behind the decimal. So in our first number, we have our decimal point, and then behind it, we have 1 place. And in our second number, we have 1 digit behind our decimal. So we've got 1 digit and 1 digit behind. And we're going to use these two numbers here in a minute, but I always record them off to the side because they're going to help us with step 3. Step 3 is to add those numbers together. So we have 1 plus 1, because there's 1 number behind the decimal and 1 number behind the decimal. So I'm going to add those up, and I know 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now I'm going to use that 2 later, but for right now, I can ignore those decimals. And my next step is to just multiply my numbers. So I can multiply and completely ignore those decimal points. So I'm going to use standard algorithm. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 2 is 6, plus that 2 I carried is 8. Now I'm moving over to my tens place value. So I need to remember to fill in my 0 because it's holding the place value since I'm in the tens place. 4 times 7 is 28, so I'm going to put my 8 down. I'm going to carry my 2 on top. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 that I've carried over is 10. And I'm going to add my numbers together. So 1 plus 0 is 1. 8 plus 8 is 16. Carry my 1, 1, and 1. Okay, now we have our last step for multiplying decimals. And that is to move your decimal the number of times from step 3. So in step 3, I said I had my 2. So I'm going to use that 2. This is a whole number in my answer right now. And we know that the whole number has a decimal at the very end of it. So we have our decimal, and we're going to move it 2 times. So I'm going to move it 1, 2, and that's where my decimal is living now. So my answer is 11 and 61 hundredths. And that is multiplying decimals.